What sorts of challenges have you encountered along the way in terms of keeping things streamlined and predictable?
Uh, it's still very hard. Okay, it's very hard in telco OSS because the many telcos get burned, spend lots of money and couldn't get it done.
Welcome back to another installment of the Next Gen Case Study Series. On today's episode, we have David Deng, who is the co-founder, chairman of the board, and CTO of OSSera, a company specializing in telecommunications network operations support systems. With a strong technical background, David has played a crucial role in developing OSSera's innovative COSM OSS platform, which aims to optimize network operations and support the future of telecommunications. His leadership and vision has been pivotal in positioning OSSera as a key player in the industry, which is why we're excited to have him on the show. David, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So to get things started here, David, I'd love to get from you a quick little background on, who you are, where you came from, and how you came to find yourself as a co-founder of OSSera.
It's a, a long story. Okay, I grew up in China. I, I was little actually. I was very poor. My family very poor. So I was lucky to be able to get into college in China after the kind of opened the door to the West. So then I after graduate, after a few years working there as a teacher, then I moved to US to come to for graduate study, graduate school study. So then I get my graduate degree in computer science, where I started looking into. I end up with researching into something called the Simple Network Management protocol, the SMP, and then later it led me into this industrial uh, produce the software for telecommunication network support systems. And then I found my job in this industrial, and then since then I have been always working in this industrial. First as a software engineer, and then growing to software architect, and then after working many years in this industrial, thinking I was thinking to build my own software, our own platform to help this industrial, and then yeah, it is a long story, and even just building the company and get the company into the door of OSS world, and then be accepted by telecommunication operate service provider. We also call them CSP. Sometimes we call them telcos because they are big companies, right? And then when they use your software, meaning somewhat depending on your software to see the network, how the network status is, so on and so forth, what's happening on the network. So that's why this industry has a very high entry barrier.
Mm.
But then once you get in, somewhat you lock your customer into your system too. But however, my point to build my own company is after have seen the industrial was always lagging behind the front end of the computer technology, and then the system architecture always very old. And then, like I said, because of the lock-in, so it's very hard for the telco to replace. The replacement cost is very high. So that's why I want to build something really good and then state of the art and be able to be very flexible for the customer and reduce all sorts of costs and then complexities. I because I'm coming from the computer geek background, I used to consider myself one of the best programmer in the world. Even though I'm not full famous, nobody know me, but I dig into the OS kernels, very deep into the computer science stuff. Okay, it's a long story. I try to simplify, but still maybe take longer than expected.
I was very on point, very concise. David, it seems to me that you kind of have a passion for this kind of thing that started at a young age. Can you share how some of your early time in the industry kind of influenced your decision to be where you are?
Actually, my passion was big when I was young, I really want to be a physicist. Okay, I used to be very good in high school in physics, but my college entry exam, I screwed up. Okay, I used to be the top student, and I end up almost the bottom. So I get into where I actually majored in meteorology. And then eventually, when I come to US, I was able to switch to computer science. And then, the fate leading me into the here. So I accepted and then looking into what I'm doing. And I just want to do something that makes things different. And then after so many years in this industrial, I think now I see something different happening, something we call the autonomous network. Basically, making the network be able to manage itself.
Hmm.
So a few years, maybe 20 years back, when I was watching the Star Wars movie, I was thinking, I think, how the network would be managing the network in the Star Wars. There are those spaceships, those automation, whatever, that complicated machines and weapons, they have to communicate each other. And then how the network would be managed, it must be managed by itself, right? So today, the industrial is organized under something called the TMF, Telecommunication Management Forum. So we are a member of, and then I try to be active there. So I follow them, especially in network autonomy, how to make network and manage itself. So that's why I built this my own platform from scratch. They're able to tackle the entire telco network. Imagine like AT&T, Verizon, or whatever the big network. They have lots of equipment outside, inside. You need to be able to discover them and then monitor their state and be able to correlate events and find the root cause and then kick off the self-healing, we call the self-X, self-healing, self-organizing, and then make the network better. That's actually the goal. I want to start something going there. I don't think I can make it there. I'm still active. I wanted to do something, but I'm kind of old. So I want to be able to lay down the foundation, and then eventually someone will take over, maybe like you said, acquisition or whatever happened, or someone investment and bring in good talent, and then build something like that to make something like that to happen.
Yeah, it's a very ambitious goal, and it's so interesting to learn that some of your inspiration comes from, watching old sci-fi flicks. I remember when I was a kid, well, I mean, not necessarily a kid as much as I was just significantly
Uh,
younger. I was
of
watching
course.
Iron Man, and I remember him, Tony Stark, having a conversation with Jarvis, and I thought, man, that would be cool if that ever became real. And fast forward now, a better part of 15 years, maybe a decade and a half here, and we have Chat GPT, and we have, all of these
Okay.
voice engines and some really cool technologies that exist. So it's cool that you were able to play a role in contributing to that space with the work that you're doing, and being that you're the co-founder of OSSera, I'm sure that initially you had to wear a lot of hats, and now maybe your role is probably a lot different than it was back then. I wonder if you could share kind of what that experience was like, how your role has kind of evolved over time.
Okay. When I started, actually, this company was started by as some of my friends in Bay Area, in San Jose Bay Area, invited me to join a startup to do actually this day called cloud computing, right? At that time, uh, the CERN, the storage area network technologies come up, and then they say, hey, why don't we just build something called the PAN, process area network? So a bunch of small computers or blade computers, you connect them together in the network, and all the process is just a pool, right? Then the software will be something we set define wireless and it runs forever. Like whatever the application you define it for that whole pen and then SAN and the storage and memory. and they just keep running until the last CPU dies, which wouldn't happen if you put a bunch of them there. So it wasn't going to the virtualization that path. And I was the one doing the software, they doing hardware. And then the concept was way too early and then couldn't get money, so it dies. And then my software get left there. So I said, oh, maybe I can use this to build a system for OSS. So we start from there. And then, yeah, originally I was purely just engineer, software engineer, a heck of a good software engineer. I personally have very, very confidence there. And then after I started to build a company and started to selling all those, suddenly realized, wow, selling product is very, very difficult. Okay. Technology is a lot easier than business. Business is not only science. Because when you program, if there's a bug, there's a bug. You can find it. There's no ambiguity there. But when you go to business, you try to convince someone to buy and use it so good. But they can just they don't trust you or whatever. There are many, many other things, small things can completely change the outcome of business. But technology is always the same. So I start with technical background and then try to help sales. We don't have sales because I don't have a sales background. My team doesn't have people in sales background. So I start to become more involved in sales and then develop channel. We still depending on the channels, local partners, and then they do an initial sale. We help them technically to answer RFP or those things. So yeah, the role gradually changed. Now I have a team, so I don't do programming anymore. Even though I still call CTO, because I control the technology side of directions and the vision, that thing, and also go out to TMF events. I go speak for, and then mostly still technical side. Yeah, it was a long journey again.
Yeah.
But I think it's worth it. Okay, it's we get to the point.
Right. And I can relate to that idea of being a very technical person and then having no choice but to figure out how to also now sell your product to the people who need it, and the challenges that that poses. And it's really cool to see how you the resilience that you have to overcome some of those challenges and just become resourceful, find the right people, find the right tools, find the right knowledge. That's a really admirable trait, and probably what has contributed mostly to your success, I think. As you kind of embraced that role, and allowed other people to kind of help influence it. How did that shape your customers' experience from that moment of when they discover you to how you kind of bring them into your business? What types of marketing do you do? Is it outbound thing, or is this kind of a networking thing? Do you do events? What's your approach to finding new clients and prospects?
Okay, at the beginning, as a technical guy, we think we do good product and someone would know, someone will buy it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It turns out nobody really know, nobody really pay attention to you. So fortunately, I worked in this industry for many years, right? Directly, indirectly, I know some people. Some I work in a company, and that company eventually purchased, merged into Agilent, which is much bigger company, and then they have a different sales officer around the world. So some of them are indirectly, I know them. So I start to connect with them, and then they would try. Okay, so David, I can try to see if we can sell your product, and we start to gain. Of course, telco is always worried about if the company is too small. If I use your product and then the company die out, then they have big trouble, right? So always get the small project to start with. Like the recently we get one project, a big project in Telecom Malaysia. We manage the entire network, the entire telco network, all the domains. Only use one platform, OSSera platform, to manage everything in terms of OSS. Okay,
Mm.
so that is not achievable at the beginning. And actually, it took us like 10 years. Every time they have upbeat, we participate. We bid, I go talk how we do things. We do demo, POC, whatever. So we do many. Eventually, I mean, the early small one, we all fail until suddenly they want to do a big one, replace all of them. And then we went that one.
Ah,
I remember I was at the end, the evaluation team submit the suggestion to the board of directors. Say, if OSSera cannot do it, nobody can do it. That's why we select OSSera. They are not the cheapest. Okay, the technology is the best. So of course, after we already win the project and then we chat a little bit. So yeah, we were talking about this, and I say it's like a Olympic athletes, right? You prepare the whole lifetime. You
mm,
try to compete there, and sometimes you feel like I never get the chance to go there to compete.
right.
But I at that time I really feel like that. Oh, I get a chance to compete and I win. So that really feels very good. And then yeah, the customer need to know you more and more and more, and then you will start to buy and then take your solution. And of course, the early technology takers, they get the most benefit. Like Telecom Malaysia, they really get a tremendous benefit return from using single platform and do all those things. We are already doing the self-healing. The problem happen, it will heal itself. Network will heal itself. We are already doing things like that.
So you're like definitely innovating in the space and being I love that sports analogy. My sister, she's a rugby player and is aiming at playing for the Olympics in the next summer games. So it's a really big
Yeah,
challenge and that idea of like really pushing and working towards something and just not knowing whether or not it's going to come to fruition, but doing it anyways. That's a powerful message to anybody who's out there who's starting something, who wants to build something, or is in the middle of it right now and feels like it's never going to come true. David, if there was ever any advice that you could offer somebody in that situation to stick through it, I think is one of the lessons that you would definitely embody. So when it comes to like your current processes now, like what you're working on in terms of business development, I imagine because you've been around for so long that a great deal of your clients and prospects come from referrals or from the network that currently exists. So do you do any outbound stuff now beyond that, or do you rely kind of on that network to bring you new business?
I think the networking uh, is a great beginning and also will continue, right? But after that, once we start to gain some customer, and then I think we know we need to get on a bigger stage, like a TMF, Telecommunication Management Forum. They have world conferences usually, and these days in Copenhagen. The last couple of years, we go there, we present our story there, solution, and tell people and share. We have a booth there, and also they have a regional events. We participate. We need to push the message out to tell the potential customer, the telcos, that single software monitor the entire network end to end is possible and is beneficial. Especially when you talk about generative, like ChatGPT, generative AI. So in telco OSS, there are lots of customizations that often becomes an issue because different users, different background, people want to look things differently. One of the best thing in our industry using ChatGPT kind of a generative AI is then suddenly we can use native language. Someone do not have to use your fixed UI to do things. He can ask, oh, I seen this alarm on this device. Then I want to know what other device is connected to, what service is providing. They just like a chatting, and then eventually you know down, okay, I need to fix this. And after a while, this becomes some routine things, and then can can maybe again use ChatGPT, say, tell, hey, these things put into as a system service become a product. Then that way the cost again become lower, and the customer become happier. Things like that is very, very good.
Yeah. So when it comes to like that business development thing, what sorts of challenges have you encountered along the way in terms of keeping things streamlined and predictable?
Uh, it's still very hard. Okay, it's very, very hard in telco OSS because the again many telcos get burned, spend lots of money and couldn't get it done. I remember 2007 or 8, Telstra has a very big deal. It's very famous, like a 100 million at that time. RFP and IBM won and tried to organize a bunch of vendors to reduce their 1,200 system to 400 system. And at that time, I told them it will fail because there's no product can do this. And then that's another reason making me affirmed my direction is right. I need to build a product, enable something like that. So the challenge here is telcos, when you tell them, they feel like there's so many people talk about that. And then at the end, they spend money and couldn't do it. So now how would you be different, right? So then we have to tell them we already done it.
Mm.
Okay, we just one by one, and then I'm pretty sure eventually they will all jump into the onto the bandwagon and say, "Oh, we can do it." Then we want it. But at the beginning, it's very, very hard.
Yeah, that's one of the big challenges when you're dealing with such complex technologies is creating a way to simplify it so that it's understandable, and then getting that message in front of the key people who make the right decisions, and then getting them to experience it. Because that's a whole other thing too, is putting the product in the customer's hands is sometimes a little bit more convoluted when you're in a space where the technology is a difficult thing to communicate with. So, what's your approach to this in terms of like how you develop that messaging? Do you try to keep things internal and keep your team on it, or do you look for external collaborations to kind of help you along the way with that messaging and information?
Yeah, we we do multiple front. Okay, we have to do it ourselves and keep talking to all the channels we know, and also we work with the lead generator, the outside this kind of a company. They will help us to bridge us with the telco decision maker, and to do meeting and meet them and communicating with them. So get the chance to convince them or get a chance to bring them to see what has happened in our existing customer. Yeah, we have to do it in multi-front because this is still very early stage. Not many big customer like Telecom Malaysia in our area, they would jump on until
Mhm.
they all see it. Of course, it's not easier, but at this stage, it's still very challenging, and then that's why we are also actively looking into multiple front. We do it channel, and then the helping coming like lead generation, and also if someone big company, I'm trying to reach out some big company can invest into us and then use their power, their market awareness or channels, then we can go much faster.
So I get a sense then that you're kind of taking like a multi-channel approach to this. No situation has all your eggs in one basket, so you're diverse in the approach. Is there how would you measure the success of having that multi-pronged approach in terms of like outside of the clear one, like okay, there's a customer acquisition cost and then there's a lifetime value of that customer. Like these are some clear metrics, but in a world where it's a little bit more complex and a lot of human to human interaction is involved, it's not like you can really pinpoint numbers and say that this is working or this is not working. So I wonder how you determine that you're on the right track in terms of the efforts that you're putting forward.
Uh, this again is not like a pure math, right?
Right.
And often one way you don't see result for a long time, but actually it is the right way. And sometimes you see a good result already coming. That's good. Uh, to me, I just have to make a judgmental call. Okay, I evaluate myself. I look, say, I need to spend time, keep looking into investment, even though big company not paying attention, for example. I just keep going, keep going. And then lead generation, I see we get more contact. We talk to more telco people, and especially the decision makers, and then key users. And these, even though we don't see result right away, like the TMF, we go there, we talk to people. We don't see the result right away, but I believe that's the right way to go. Then I will keep doing it.
Mm.
So it's because we don't have we are all self-funded. So I basically majority shareholder. So I make my decision, right or wrong. Okay.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, David. Sometimes when you're right, it's like a celebration, but when you're wrong, man, that really cuts deep, right?
You just
I've been there before, I can say it. And to God, that's a tough place to be in. So when it comes to empowering your team or enabling them to do their jobs better, what sorts of kind of tools and technologies do you implement to kind of help that sales process along?
uh, for my team building team management or maintaining or growth. I I mostly not rely on technology at this moment so far. I I'm a Chinese. Okay, I'm Hakka. In Chinese, there's one ethnic called Hakka. My father, my many generations, we have this tradition to teach kids generation by generation. So I always follow that certain things I like, and also kind of manage or similar for the Western side of a business deal. Be really honest and be earn the trust. Okay. So I always tell customer, okay, meeting or people I meet, I either don't if I either don't say it or I say if I say something, I base on the fact I have. Okay. And if it's just my opinion, I would tell just my opinion. If I don't have the fact, I just don't say it. So gradually, my team really like me on that side and trust me and then believe in me also. So we build trust among the core team, and then core team will handle their job and they help me, and then they follow me for many years. And then yeah, customer also see us say you are another group of Chinese. So I asked them why we are a different group. They say we deal with many Chinese groups. We know you guys are different. I said I just tell them, okay, this is traditional Chinese culture or the traditional way of doing business. My father and grandpa um, used to be a small business person, and that was before current government take over the country. So they have some experience, and then they also teach me in that sense. When I was little, of course, we were not. My father was not doing business. I was not, but he just talked about his experience, so we get learned from there.
Yeah, I relate to that too. My father's a serial entrepreneur, started many businesses himself, and as I kind of grew up just watching what he was up to, I never really appreciated how much I was able to absorb in all of that time. So to see that people in business are still operating from a foundation of these traditional morals and values and ethics and keeping it very personal one-on-one that's important because we're all in this yeah, we're just humans working together to make a difference, right?
Yeah, and then also very big thing I learned when after I stayed in US for so many years. So we work because we need to live. So life is first, family first,
Hmm.
then job second. Compared to many Asian countries, they tell people, okay, you have to do your job. Your family, and you should tell somebody to handle it. I always tell them, if your family need you, go.
Hmm.
I'll figure out a way to handle the job. Or I would tell customers, say, sorry, we have to delay this because family is more important. And I think my team like that too. I really learned that in US and I push it in my company. I always tell them, no matter what, life is number one. You are not living because you need to work. You work because you live.
David, the world needs leaders like you. I can say that with absolute certainty and confidence.
That's too much compliment. Okay,
Yeah,
I don't see that level. I just okay do whatever inside my company for now.
yeah. There's leading with the heart and being able to be somebody who can guide the people that you're charged with is so important. And I can see that not only you have a passion for, the technology and your own kind of um interests in this, but also in helping people and serving people. And that's really, really important. So as we kind of come to a close with our time together here, David, I'd love to kind of get a perspective on what's on the horizon. What are you aiming at? What are some of the big goals? Maybe what are the trends that you're excited about that are kind of coming down the pipeline?
Doing business is like you're walking into a tunnel, dark tunnel.
Mm,
You don't know how close you are at the end. Okay,
right.
unless you at the end there's a light. If there's no light, or like you're climbing on a mountain, maybe just 1 foot away, you don't know. You just have to keep climbing. But these days, the technologies are developing so fast, right? We just open mind and then take the good technology into our solution and make our solution be able to quickly absorb those new technologies. And then the telco network hasn't been dramatically changed for many years. I think the autonomy making the network manage itself, it's really something will make very big difference in the industrial and even in normal people life because the way you use your network or the way the network serve you, not you use network.
Mm,
The way you use network will not change, but network serving everybody it could be dramatically changed because the network autonomy.
right. Yeah, that's exciting to look forward to what is to come. And I love the analogy of you kind of just fumbling around in the dark here. We don't know where the end of this is all going to be, but
You have to be keep going. Then you
yes.
one day you realize, oh, I'm already on top of the money, or I already out of the tunnel.
Yeah, yeah, that's a wonderful analogy. David, to kind of close things up here, if you could, I wonder if there was a piece of advice that you could offer somebody who's kind of out there, up to things, trying to create a difference and have an impact. What would that piece of advice be?
uh, uh, doing business is very hard. It's not only science, okay? So, but don't give up, okay? Keep doing, follow your mind, and follow whatever you learned in the past in your life, and then focus, be focused. Then you will find your way, and then naturally your fate will come to lead you to where you are. It's kind of like actually I was atheist, and eventually I become religious. You can see because whatever happened in your life, it just start to make you wondering things like that. That is not easy. You have to have the heart and then the mind to do business. And then if you do, just keep going and you will be there.
Wonderful advice. If somebody wanted to reach out to you to pick your brain further or perhaps work with you, what's the best way to do that?
Reach me by email, David_Deng at OSSera.com. Yeah, or go to the LinkedIn and search for David Deng or Sarah David Deng, then you will find me. I always open my content information. I open.
Perfect. We'll make sure to link to that stuff in the show notes so that if anybody watching or listening wants to reach out, they can do that. And on that note, if you wanted to reach out to me or my team for your marketing needs, you can visit nextgengrowth.com. Otherwise, that's it for this episode. Thanks for joining us, and I will see you in the next.